seem really insignificant to somebody who can eat almost anything they want to eat. Muffins to my family, however, are a really, really big deal. These muffins are something that I could very easily take to a potluck and share with anybody because they don't have that, oh, that must be gluten-free kind of a flavor. So this recipe will work with wheat flour. Now what I suggest that you do if you want to do that is to cut the flour back by 1 cup. So this one calls for 4 cups of flour. So start by putting the 3 cups in, then mix it and see how the moisture level is doing. So watch the video and see how runny the batter is. And then if it looks like it needs more, I would add in maybe a 1/4 cup at a time until you reach that perfect consistency. And it'll fall somewhere between, most likely, between 3.5 and 4 cups. While we're baking the muffins, I want to talk to you a little bit about the flour blend that I created for these recipes. It was really important to me to use only whole food ingredients that you could conceivably make at home. I also wanted it to be something that was affordable. With a family of 7 trying to live on a budget, it's important to me not to break the bank just so that I can make a batch of muffins. But I also wanted them to hold together really well and have the texture that you're used to. So I began my journey with brown rice flour. It's a whole grain flour. That means that the outer hull with all the nutrition in it hasn't been removed. Now because it is a gluten-free flour, you do have to put a few different ingredients. It's hard to do a single flour recipe that will turn out the way that you're used to. But my gluten-free blend only has 4 ingredients. Just like this recipe will work with wheat flour, it'll work with any gluten-free flour blend that you choose to buy at the store. Or if you'd like to, you can order my flour recipe on my Etsy store. You can find a link to our Etsy store on our homepage or in the description down below. And right now it's on sale for half price. Now I'm a pretty frugal girl, so I don't like buying recipes, although there's times when I feel like something is worth the price that you pay, and that's what I feel like for this recipe. You'll also get 3 muffin recipes included with it, and you'll be able to use it for making biscuits and cookies and pancakes. It's just got so many uses, and I will be giving away more free recipes to go with all of that. Now make sure you hang on till the end of the video because I have a whole discussion about some of the ingredient choices that I have in this recipe and ways that you can make alterations. So you'll want to hang on for that. But for now, let's go eat muffins. I'm going to show you how to make powdered sugar real quick. I usually do 2 cups of sugar at a time, so I just follow the measurements on my blender. So the powdered sugar that you get from the grocery store usually has cornstarch in it, which is something that we try to avoid because corn can give us trouble in our tummies. So in the blender, turn it on high, and in a minute or 2 you have powdered sugar. Now it depends on what you're doing with it, how fine you want to get it. And you can feel how fine it is by rubbing it between your fingers. So get a little on your finger. And if it's still gritty, you know, for something like the glaze that we're doing, that's okay if it's just a little bit. If you wanted to decorate a cake with it, you're going to want to get it super fine. So you would just keep going. And if you have trouble, it can kind of cake up and get to where it's kind of hard. So if you're using this to make really nice, fine cake powdered sugar, you're going to want to put a little potato starch in there because it starts to release a little bit of moisture because of the heat of the blender, and it can really cake up and not do what you want it to do. So put a tablespoon or two, well, probably about a tablespoon per cup of sugar, and that'll keep it light and fluffy, and it'll keep it moving in the blender and keep it from getting dry and yucky. So this is how I do it. So we have about a tablespoon of juice left over from our orange juice, and that's about what you're going to need to make quite a bit. It goes a long ways. A couple tablespoons of the sugar to start with, and you're just going to mix in enough powdered sugar is really much easier to do with fork. Or you can put it back in your blender again. Just make sure you get all that sugar out because you won't need 2 cups. So we're at about a 1/4 cup of sugar to that tablespoon or so, maybe a little more of juice. That's the consistency you want. You want it to be opaque, but you still want it runny. I love it.
Uh-huh. Nom 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 nom. Nom 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 nom. Yeah.
I don't want to rewatch this. A few notes about the recipe. You'll see that I do bake them with sugar, and the biggest reason that I have written the recipe with sugar is because every conversion to a different kind of an alternative sweetener is based on a sugar quantity. So if you want to do honey, when you look that up on Google, it's going to tell you how to go from sugar to honey. If you want to do rapadura or sucanat or, you know, the different demerara, whatever sugars that you want to use, it'll tell you how to go from a plain white sugar over to those kind of sugars. The other reason that I use sugar, and it calls for 1.5 cups in this recipe, which can sound like a lot for a muffin recipe, but you can figure that this muffin recipe is probably about double most recipes. I think most recipes will make 12 muffins, and this one will make about 24 average size muffins. So 1.5 cups over 24 doesn't come out to a whole lot. The other reason that I use sugar is because if you take honey, as soon as you put it into these muffins and stick it in the oven, first of all, you've lost all the benefits of the honey. It is no longer got all those wonderful probiotics and antibacterial qualities, and it doesn't have you lose all the benefits of the honey. Now, you are saving yourself from having some of that refined sugar, but we do buy an organic sugar that's not as processed. The other reason that I don't like baking with honey is that in Ayurvedic medicine, and this is something, you know, there's not been a whole bunch of research on, so you can argue that it might be wrong, but I believe there's a lot of wisdom in some of those ancient ways of medicine. So in Ayurvedic medicine, they say that as soon as the honey is heated to a certain temperature, which is, you know, where it will no longer crystallize in sugar, then it becomes actually toxic to your body and is stored as ama. And ama is something that causes inflammation in your body. And seeing as we have trouble with autoimmune issues and gut problems, then to subject ourselves to ama would be something that would be really bad. So I choose not to use honey. In fact, what I really like to do is take the recipe as it is, and then I would cut back the sugar a little bit. I kind of went for just mainstream. So this is going to be kind of your run-of-the-mill, almost everybody's going to love it, level of sugar. So I would cut back the sugar a little bit, which won't affect your recipe. And then you can put the raw honey on your muffin after it's cooled, you know, to just a nice warm temperature. And then you can have all of the benefits of the honey. Your muffin will still be sweet, and you haven't harmed anything. So that's our favorite way to do it. And I've got some honey toppy recipes that are, oh, they're so good. So so that's what I wanted to say about the sugar. You can use any sweetener you want with these recipes. You might have to tweak a couple things, but any of the crystallized sugar, whether it's coconut sugar or you know, sucanat, any of those will work just 1-to-1 ratio with the white sugar. If you're using honey, you might have to adjust the flour just a little bit, maybe add 1/2 cup more, but you might not. So that's something you'd have to play with a little bit if you choose to use honey. So as far as the ingredients go, it was really important to me to use whole food ingredients. I didn't want to, some of the different gluten-free recipes that you look up, they'll have 13 to even 20 different ingredients, and it's a little tiny bit of this starch and a little bit of that powder and some of this gum and some of that gum, so that it holds together, because without the gluten you lose that binder that holds things together. So it's just not how we eat. That's not how we feed our kids. And not only that, but the gums really just irritate our stomachs to no end. It can cause headaches in our family. So that's something I didn't want to have anything to do with. So there's no xanthan gum. There's no guar gum. There's nothing like that in here. Like I showed you in the beginning, we use just food. That's all it is. Now, some of it has been mildly processed, but it's like, you know, you press your coconut and you get coconut oil, and that's something that we use all the time. You can grind your own rice flour. I don't know that you'd be able to do it in something like a Vitamix to get it fine enough, but I have heard of reports of people that have a really high quality flour mill can grind their own. So these are ingredients that are real, and that is was my philosophy behind doing this. I wanted something that could be shared with anybody, that wouldn't be exclusive, or somebody that's been off of gluten for long enough would be able to tolerate it. And then I wanted it to be made with whole food ingredients and ingredients that you can recognize. So I've been able to share these muffins with a few of my neighbors, which has been super fun. I take them over and they've just absolutely loved them. Not any one of them suspected that they were gluten-free. And that's kind of a big deal, because when you go gluten-free, it can feel like a very isolating thing, where you're either feel like you're a spectacle because you're eating something different, or it's just hard to share with people that you love. So I have all these friends and neighbors on the street, and I've been able to share a few things here and there, but not very much. And so being able to take something like that, it's heartwarming for them, and it's heartwarming for us. And it just helps the kids to kind of feel a little more normal. Thanks so much for stopping by and baking muffins with us today. I hope yours turned out great. Make sure you stop by the Etsy store so that you can pick up the recipe for the flour blend while it's still on sale. And don't forget, you'll get 3 more muffin recipes to go with it. I hope your Thanksgiving is wonderful, filled with many thanks and lots of family, and maybe even some cranberry orange muffins.